This is Bumper to Bumper, the car show. Drive in anxious and cruise out confident. With the best automotive information for your vehicle. And now your hosts, Matt Allen and Dave Riccio.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio here along with Matt Allen, and we are here to help you with your car every Saturday from 11 to noon. At Bumper to Bumper Radio, we're helping you, the motoring public, have a better overall car repair experience. If you've got car questions, we've got car answers, so we encourage you to give us a call at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. You can also text your questions to 411-923. Today on the Bumper to Bumper Roadmap, a little bit of fact or fiction. We're going to make something up here pretty quick for that. We're taking your texts and phone calls. And is your car under-maintained or over-maintained? And this comes from a poll that I saw from a trusted name in the auto business that says that 88% of mechanics that they polled said that your car was neglected. Even though it's running good, that there's stuff that's not being taken care of. And I think of that simple fact that 70% of all statistics are made up just before they're given. And I just thought it was kind of, I don't know. Matt, when you hear that 88% of all mechanics say that cars are under-maintained, and they specifically were talking about brakes, or not brakes, it was tires, transmission fluid, and they said brake fluid. So those things.
Well, yeah, I mean, the poll itself is
flawed.
Yeah, there's something wrong with it. They didn't do it was 70% or 80% of whatever. It was a poll about the opinions of what some mechanics that we ask questions think. Right?
I guarantee if you ran that poll in North Phoenix versus South Phoenix, the poll would have a completely different answer.
Well, regionally, by state, in the same county, you're right, whatever. But what caught me is it seems to be one of those polls where the people that put it out there just want to get something out so they can get their name out and talk about and give the appearance that they have something of substance, when what this poll is doesn't mean a damn thing. I mean, we just asked some mechanics and 80% of them thought this. There's probably no real statistics behind it. Here's science.
Here's the thing I say you talk to 5 different mechanics, you're going to get 4 different answers, and really 3 of them is right. Just because there's 3 ways to maintain a car. What is under-maintained? Well, they don't wash their car like they should. Well, some people don't care about a car wash. As long as they can see through the windshield, they're happy.
Yeah. Well, and you brought it up. And what do they mean maintenance? It's interesting that they talked about, let's just use brake fluid as one of those. That's not really something that comes to the top of my mind when I think about maintenance. I mean, it is something that we check, and on a late model car, it is something that you need to be have to have serviced. But if we're talking, if you're on a budget or you have to make choices on certain things you want to do, I don't think brake fluid is on the top of the list. I've never seen anybody on the side of the road because of brake fluid breaking down.
That's a good thing. Well, I have seen somebody rearing the car in front of them because their brake fluid is old and nasty and the brakes weren't up to performance.
Is that why that happened?
Maybe.
Is that what? That's
my
why your
wife told me.
So it was I got it now. So it was your fault that she wrecked the rear end of the person because, see, Dave?
Yeah,
maybe my mind has changed now. Maybe,
I'm not letting you talk to my wife.
Maybe 80% of those mechanics that made that up were right. But that's one of those easy maintenance services too, right? We like
I'm a consumer. I'm in the shop, and the guy comes out, and he's got this tray with all these fluids on it, and he says, well, you need this one, and you obviously need that one. That's what the new stuff looks like. That's what yours looks like. I'm a consumer. I don't know if I'm being oversold. I don't know if I'm being undersold. Do I really need that? So let's take brake fluid. Let's talk about brake fluid.
Sure.
Why do you service your brake fluid?
Because they said so.
Well, but give me some more. And we were debating this before the show. Is that
I'll go back to 1987 when I started doing this. I worked at a Porsche specialty shop, and I'm like, why are they always changing the brake fluid every year? Every year they're changing, and we were getting cars prepared for Porsche Club events and such. But as far as in the maintenance department of the shop, every year they're changing the brake fluid. Well, that was a German thing. The Germans, Europeans, they really highly maintain their cars, and German cars are a car that they're a high-end car, and they do require a high level of maintenance to perform at
up to
that
their
optimal
specification.
level.
They say, hey, our car stops like in 10 feet.
Yeah, exactly. And so and you think about the environment where those cars are. Maybe they're in Europe where there's snow and there's more, not that we don't have snow in America, but compared to Arizona, there's snow, there's more moisture in the air. And some of those things are brake fluid is hydroscopic, so it's going to attract moisture. And moisture in the brakes is no good. You can't compress it. It will boil. When the brakes get hot, the boiling point on brake fluid is much higher. So that's one of the reasons you want to service
braking performance.
Yeah.
The other thing that's different than in years past is that we've got these very, very expensive ABS systems, and I don't think you want brake fluid that's moisturized and got all kinds of contaminants just from operating. So you said on those cars, they were saying every year or every 2 years?
Every year. Well, it was every year for Porsche Club events, but Mercedes and BMW, you see them every 2 years. Every once in a while, you see an American car that has it on there at 3 years or at 30,000 miles, but you'll have it on the Corvette, but you won't have it on the Impala, for example.
Chevy Cavalier. It's just not a big deal.
Because it's not a performance car. But that, we've talked about this before, Dave. Let's just talk about a car that people might perceive as being a cheaper car, a Kia or a Hyundai. Those cars are really nice cars now, and they've got just as much high tech in that entry level car as there is in the high tech and maybe your high end Mercedes. So they've got the same ABS pumps. They've got some of the same components, so they do need to have that higher level of maintenance.
So when these technicians that were supposedly polled said that 88% of people are not changing their brake fluid, we don't really know what standard they're measuring off. So you as a consumer need to know that brake fluid reasonably may need to be serviced when you're doing the brake job. That's reasonable, right? You might buy brakes at 30,000 or 50,000 miles. I know there's some vehicles where the brakes will last 100,000 miles. They're kind of the anomaly or the exception. But maybe that's when you should consider servicing the brake fluid. But just because you're in for an oil change and the car's got 15,000 miles on it, I don't know that you need a brake fluid service.
No, and what I would be asking people, if I was in a shop and they said, you need to have your brake fluid flushed, I'd say, great, how are the rest of my brakes? Oh, they're fine. Or, oh, we need to do them in 2 months. Okay, well, let's just do the brake fluid when we do the brake job. We do that in my shop all the time. Your brake fluid is marginal. There's no need to change that today. You've got 4 millimeters of life left on your brakes, and we're going to see that on your next oil change. We'll do it then, and let's tie those together. Now, we might test your brake fluid. And
there is a little bit of science to it, right?
Yeah.
It's not just, we think you need it. We stuck our finger in it, we tasted it on the end of our tongue. It's definitely bad.
Yeah,
it
we
needs to be
have
changed.
some paper that has this chemical reaction. We dip it in
a little
the brake
litmus
fluid.
test type of thing.
And it's an objective test. So we might find one where you're high on a 5 scale, you're at a 4, needs to be done, but your brakes have half their life left on them. So we're going to recommend to do that now. So these are the kind of questions you need to ask. The other thing that they talked about with the maintenance was transmission fluid. Well, heck, Dave, I don't know, half the cars you can't check them, they're sealed, right?
Right. Can't check the transmission fluid, and half the manufacturers say you don't even change it. It's lifetime fluid. So does that mean that 88% of these technicians are disagreeing with the manufacturer? Because I do disagree with the manufacturer. But transmission fluid, do you feel it's not getting changed? I think that it's maybe or maybe not getting changed. I don't know. What's your opinion on this?
Well, yeah, I guess because that's what that poll was. It was opinions, right?
88% of
We've
opinions.
got them. Well, I think people, maybe transmissions do get underserviced because we hear it all the time. We hear listeners with questions, Dave. They said they can't service it. It's a sealed unit. No.
They can't service it at that particular shop.
Yeah, maybe because they're not qualified to service the unit is why they might say that, but it's definitely not sealed. And if there's this misbelief throughout even the industry with the less educated shops or less well-performing shops, if they're not checking it because they think it doesn't need to be checked because it can't be changed because it's sealed when it's really not, then maybe it is underperformed or underserviced.
Well, here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to make up my own poll right now. I think that 90% of shops out there that don't really know how the transmission works aren't checking the fluid. It was easy to check when all you had to do was pull out a dipstick. Now it's a lot harder to check the fluid because you got to check it from underneath, and sometimes you need a special tool. So I think that gets neglected just because it's not an easy check.
Yeah, it's got to be at 114 degrees Fahrenheit exactly on the scale. I mean, there's weird things for checking fluid. What was one of the other ones?
Tires. Well, I would definitely say that tires can be neglected because you see all the rubber on the side of the road when May hits and it's hot and the pavement heats up. You definitely see a lot of that, so people aren't necessarily changing their tires. But that's easily measured. You know, you can look at tires and see how much tread depth there are. You can look at the age of the tire, see how old the tire is, and you can check the inflation of the tire. So I think, again, that would be regional to even what part of town you live in. Are they being neglected, you know?
Yeah. It could be anywhere. It could be regionally. Now, this isn't a poll. I'm looking at some stuff. October is National Car Care Month, and that's put on by carcare.org, which is just a nonprofit and trying to promote car maintenance and people taking care of their car. And a lot of times, and we've done bumper-to-bumper shops do these inspections, and we keep statistics, and we send these into this nonprofit in D.C., And 72%, they're saying, and this isn't made up, I mean, this is from actually doing an inspection. 72% of the cars on the road had some sort of failure. And then we get into those failures and say, like, lubricants and fluids. As high as 26% of them had oil level low or bad condition, whether it was any of the lubricants or fluids, brake, oil, transmission. Doesn't matter. But we can go through some of these stats. And is your shop checking these fluids when you're getting your regular services? So we'll be right back. If you want to get involved, give us a call at 602-277-5827. It's 602-277-KTAR.
Ouch! Being out of tune is no fun, and maybe even a little painful. Hi, this is Lee Weatherby, owner of Accurate Automotive in Mesa. At Accurate, we are a family-owned and operated one-stop automotive repair shop that specializes in building long-term relationships that are in tune with your needs, not ours. We've been recognized nationally as one of the top shops in the country, but for over 20 years, our priority has stayed focused on providing quality automotive service and repair at a fair price. I invite you to come in and see the difference an in-tune relationship can make for you and your car. With our free courtesy inspection, a $49 value, we feel it is well worth our investment in you because we believe good long-term relationships start early with your first walk through our doors. Accurate Automotive, home of friends serving friends, just off Broadway and Robson in Mesa since 1992. For more information, check us out online at accurateautomotiveaz.com today.
Hi, Lisa Henry with Russ Lyon Sotheby's International Realty. Have you been thinking maybe the time is right to move, but you're not sure if you have enough equity in your home or if it really is a good time? Well, home values have increased significantly over the past few years, and interest rates are still historically low. For how long? No one knows. But for every 1% increase in the interest rate, the result is about a 10% loss in purchasing power. So it might be a really great time to sell your home and either upsize or downsize to a new home while the interest rates are still low. Contact me via my website at lisareneehenry.com or direct at 480-330-9530 for a no-obligation market valuation on your home and to hear about our global online marketing plan designed to sell your home quickly for top dollar. Again, that's lisareneehenry.com, 480-330-9530. Come experience the difference a truly customer-focused real estate agent can make.
Fix it or forget it. This is the show that'll help you decide what to do with your car. Bumper to Bumper Radio. KTAR News on 92.3 FM.
Well, you're back here with Matt and Dave. Today we're talking about bogus polls that of opinions of mechanics that we don't know where they're from. We got no details. But you know what is the beauty of poll? It gets us talking. Like, do you believe that poll? I don't know if I believe that poll.
Well, we just make some stuff up and talk about it, right?
Sounds good. Well, I want to take a minute to put in my plug for the ASA, which is Automotive Service Association here in the Valley. The Phoenix chapter is on the move and trying to get shops to get involved so that we can raise the bar as far as auto service goes here in the Valley. So when you see Gary Elliott stop by your shop and he's wearing an ASA shirt, don't run him out the door. You need to talk to him. He's going to take some money from you, and you're going to come to the next meeting. We're having one a month. They're trainings, and we're also doing some roundtables across town where shop owners can share ideas about doing a better job for the consumer and creating a better automotive marketplace. So if you have any questions, you can always call me or you can call Gary Elliott. You can send me an email at bumpertobumperradio.com. Up first this segment, we are going to go with Roland with a 2007 Toyota Tacoma. Hey, Roland, you're on Bumper to Bumper Radio. How can we help you?
I don't know. Maybe Roland's not there. Roland, are you there?
That was line 2. Did you get line 2? Yeah. All right. We'll come back to you, Roland. We're going to go
Hello.
How can we help you, Roland?
I got $130,000 on this vehicle. I just bought it. You answered my question on the brake fluid and the transmission fluid, but
Well,
is $100 reasonable for the brake service?
what do you mean for brake service? To have the brake
change the fluid and adjust the brakes?
I think for $100 that's very reasonable to clean and adjust the rear brakes if that's the possibility, and service or flush the brake fluid. $100 is a pretty good deal.
Okay.
Was that it? So this was a used car that you just purchased?
Yeah, it's a really sharp little truck, and I've got some of the records, but it doesn't have anything about the brake system or the transmission service in those maintenance records. I was going to call and ask those questions. Is it really that important to maintain the brakes system, flush the fluid and the transmission? And you already answered those two questions.
Okay, perfect. Well, and some of the other questions that I asked somebody one time on a brake fluid service was it was a dealer actually, and they said, well, I need to get a service. And so I called the dealer. I thought the price was really low. So I called the service advisor, and I said, what do you do? And he goes, oh, well, we take the brake fluid out of the reservoir, and we refill it, and that's a brake fluid change.
That's a turkey baster fluid exchange.
And I said, wait a minute. So what are you doing? We're flushing. So when a brake fluid service is you flush all the brake fluid out of the entire system at each wheel. You go through the master cylinder and remove all the fluid. Well, his was really inexpensive because it really wasn't a true flush. It was just changing the fluid. And I didn't, I didn't think that's not. It's just sucking it out of the master cylinder. That's not a good service. So, that's some of the things you got to ask those questions and watch out for.
602-277-5827. Thanks for the call, Roland. We're going to go with Paul in Glendale. Looks like he's got a tire question on an 89 Corvette. What can we help you with, Paul?
Matt, how you doing?
Good. I'm Dave, but he's Matt.
This is a pretty simple question, okay? I bought 4 tires, okay? 185 each. Doesn't make any difference where I bought them. I know where I bought them, okay? I bought them on 1/18/08. Less than 7 years ago.
Okay.
Brand new, 4.
Right.
I've had 33,900 actual miles on the Vet when I bought them. I have 35,020 miles on it now. So I have less than 1,200 miles on the tires.
I think what you're heading to here, Roland, Paul, is, are my tires no good because of their age?
Well, that's not where I'm headed.
Okay.
The tires aren't dry rotted; they're warehoused. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but I only got less than 1,200 miles on the tires, less than 7 years old. The problem is, when I go to have air put in, they look at the date on the tire. Mm-hmm. I bought them in 08, but the date on the tire is 01.
Oh wow.
Yeah, right. So now what they're saying, it's 14 years old. We can't put air in the tires. Come on. I didn't buy them in 01.
Right.
I got the bill of sale of 08, brand new.
Well, I think that, there's
but a couple. My question to you is, what is the cutoff time before dealers or anybody can sell tires on the date of the tire? When's the last time they can sell it? Do they have 2 years after the date of the tire to sell it?
Well,
1 year, 5 years?
Well, I'll tell you, I think the answer is whenever they want to.
Right. There is no standard for that, and that's an excellent point that you bring up because, I remember when I was in the tire business, they would say, hey, we got these old tires we got to get rid of, we got to move these things, and they'd been sitting in the warehouse already 5 years. You're telling me these things are bad? Because as an industry, so we say tires have a shelf life of 5 years. And that's, you can say that's 6 or 7, or you can say that's 3 if you're really one of those maintenance type of people. But, there is I don't think there's anything for that. I don't think anyone's come out with a standard, and there's no, legalities behind it. Can you sell someone a 5-year-old tire? What do you think?
Well, I think you can. I mean, you can sell whatever you want to sell, and I guess it's up to the buyer to be aware of what they're buying. I think, unfortunately, now you've discovered that the tires were potentially 7 years old or so when you bought them. So it's a little bit late probably to go back and argue that. The time would have been to argue that, maybe within a month or two or the day you were buying the tires. So that is something maybe you need to, be aware of. And where did you buy those tires? You get them from the bargain basement guy, and that's why he had them around. That he doesn't move many tires, or you got a really good deal on them because they were an extra set. That's a tough one. But as far as the age of now, if the car's been warehoused, and so where are we going with this? Does he need new tires? Sounds to me like certain people won't put air in his tires, so maybe you're going to have to air your tires. But I would be I wouldn't want to be tearing up the fender well on my Corvette with 14-year-old tires either.
Well, and for those of you that are listening, you're wondering, how do we know? Well, every tire has a date stamp on it. It's not an exact date. It'll say that the tire was made, in the 50th week of 2003 or whatever it may be. So there is a date stamp, and I don't know. When you go buy meat, you want to know it's fresh. When you go buy tires, do you need to start asking, are my tires fresh? Maybe it's not a bad idea. These are the ones that you haven't moved for 10 years, and you're trying to give them to me?
Well, and if you have an oddball-sized tire, that would be a time to maybe be curious about it. But if you're going to a popular tire store in Phoenix, you're not going to have to worry about buying old tires, I would believe, Dave.
When we come back, we're taking more calls at 602-277-5827. We're also taking your texts at 411-923. You're listening to Matt and Dave, Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hi, this is Greg LaFonsi of Automotive Diagnostic Specialties. Long name, right? But we have a short, simple goal. Customer satisfaction is our number one priority, and everything else takes care of itself. Bumper to Bumper Radio approved. ADS is a family-owned and operated state-of-the-art repair facility that has an expert staff that for the second straight year has earned the coveted AAA Top Shop Award as one of the best shops in the nation. Just east of I-10 on Chandler Boulevard. Find us at automotivediagnosticspecialties.com.
Summer's winding down, Dave. It's back to school.
Yep. Check out my new Scooby-Doo lunchbox, Matt. Cool, huh?
Yeah, nice, Shaggy. And did you write your What My Car Did for Summer essay?
What? Is that due?
Join us Saturdays, 11 to noon, for Bumper to Bumper Radio on News Talk 92.3 KTAR.
And for the best car repair and body shops you can trust, it's bumpertobumperradio.com. Drive in anxious, cruise out feeling fine with Bumper to Bumper Radio. World class and in your own backyard. If you live or work in downtown Phoenix, Matt Allen's Virginia Auto Service is just around the corner at 7th Street in Virginia. And for over 19 years, they've been recognized as one of the best auto repair shops in the country. Voted Best Auto Repair by AZ Central, A+ rated by the BBB, 2-year 24,000-mile warranty, and complimentary transportation to and from your home or office. Virginia Auto. They're serious about service. See for yourself. VirginiaAutoservice.com.
Bobby Jones said, golf is the closest game to the game we call life. You get bad breaks from good shots, you get good breaks from bad shots, but you have to play the ball where it lies. Hi, this is Greg Ellis for the Bunker to Bunker Golf Show, inviting you to join us every Saturday morning from 7 to 9 on Arizona Sports, now on 98.7 FM, as we celebrate the great game with the biggest names, tour updates, interviews, and tips to improve your game.
Bunker to Bunker. Golf lives here.
Hi, I'm Scott, General Manager with Whitey's Auto Repair here in South Scottsdale. We built a reputation for quality auto service and repair for over 45 years, and our customers have come to trust us for our recommendations. We value that trust, and that's why when it comes to transmissions, for the past several decades, we have been recommending Tri-City Transmission. They have yet to disappoint. I feel so strongly about it, I wouldn't go anywhere else. Why would you? Google them online today at tricitytransmission.com. Go where the pros go. Tri-City Transmission.
There's nothing more important than family. Hi, Kurt Rock for Kurt's Auto Repair. Family owned and operated and bumper-to-bumper radio preferred. We've been taking care of Valley families and their auto care needs with a perfect Better Business record for over 27 years. Come experience the difference our ASE MasterTechs can make for you and your family at Kurt's Auto Repair. Just east of I-17 at 22nd Avenue and Bell Road, or online at mycarhurts.com. Gas or diesel, foreign or domestic. If your car hurts, take it to Kurt's.
Fix it or forget it. This is the show that'll help you decide what to do with your car. Bumper to Bumper Radio. KTAR News on 92.3 FM.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio here along with Matt Allen. And that rejoin made me laugh. Bree, we just have no idea what she's going to bring us, and that was new to me.
What's funny is it kind of sounded like a boat.
It did sound like a boat.
And then maybe it sounded like some low rider, in the way it was struggling. That didn't sound like the tire squeal was coming from that car. I don't know.
You know what's funny?
She's just mixing all kinds of sounds in there for it.
It was fantastic, Bree. Thank you.
Yes.
So it's funny that you can hear that, because that's the first thing I thought when I heard it too. Is that's like the gargle of a boat.
Well, can you ever hear cars start, Dave, and you're just walking through the parking lot? Oh, that's a Honda starting. Or you can just tell the sounds of certain starters or the way things smell. I don't know.
I can't walk by a car and hear it start and not know, something was wrong with that. I had a customer in my shop, and I got to bring this up because this drives me nuts. We rebuilt the transmission on a 1998 Dodge Durango, and we put it all back together. It came to us on a tow truck, so we never really drove it. We put it all back together, and we started up, and the starter was hanging up. It sounded terrible. And so I had to call the lady, and I had to add something. I said, hey, your starter's terrible. She said, it's been like that ever since I had it replaced. And I brought it to the attention of the shop, and they said, that's normal. That is like the worst thing you could tell me.
It is. And just we'll talk about that sound or that rejoiner. We hear these noises. But you know what? Everybody who's out there who is listening to us now that is driving a car, who owns a car, these are noises and sounds that your own car makes, odors that you need to become familiar with. We're talking about car maintenance. October is National Car Care Month, and we had this poll that was put out by somebody which was flawed in itself. It was the opinion of a bunch of people that work on cars as to what what they feel the maintenance attributes are or what's lacking on a car. But I got to tell you, you go to a restaurant and they're cooking some foul, nasty food, you got some bad fish going on in there, or something you have something in your refrigerator at home. You open it, and you're like, oh my Lord, what is that? Something's wrong.
Go with it. Go with your gut.
Go with your gut. Same thing on your car. I'll pick on my wife. We serviced her car, put a starter in it. And then after that, I start noticing this smell in the garage. It smells like gasoline. So I'm looking at my weed whacker, looking at the blower, looking to see if we tipped over a gas can. Hey, Edith, did you notice garage smells like gasoline every time you go to your car?
Kind of a big deal.
No, never really noticed it. So then I air out the garage a couple of times, and I was out of town. They come back, open the garage, get blasted with gasoline. Go sniff down by the tire. There's a fuel leak. I mean, we have, as car owners, and if you want to keep care of your car, you've got to be aware of these smells and odors and sounds. And when there's something doesn't smell right and something doesn't sound right,
it probably isn't right.
It's not right. Go with your gut and go have somebody take a look at it.
We got Nicholas, David, Kyle, and up for the segment, we're going to go with Mitch in Casa Grande on a 2006 Mercury Grand Marquis. How can we help you today, Mitch?
Thanks, Dave and Matt, for taking my call.
You bet.
We love this car, my wife and I do. We've had it for 4 or 5 years, and it's a great car. We've had one problem with it. In the morning, she takes my grandchildren to school, and we can't get the car out of park. You have to pump the brakes several times to make it come out of park. And the mechanic told me that it was something about the forks and the transmission and how it's hung up and all that stuff. But what I don't understand about that is how comes we can pump the brakes and it'll come out real easy?
Well, I know what's going on with your car, and it's not really anything to do with the transmission at all. it actually has to do with something called a park shift interlock. And that was a safety feature that people had to put on cars come around the year 2000, I believe, was the first year it was mandated. I'm not sure on the year of it.
That was back in the 80s when the Audis, those old Audi 5000s were running away, allegedly.
Well, I remember Dodge Caravans running away, and they didn't have them because it wasn't mandated at that time, even though most of the manufacturers had gone to it. But what there is, it's a safety feature so that the car can't get into gear without you having your foot on the brake. And so by pumping the brake pedal, they go bad for a couple of reasons. They go bad because maybe the brake switch itself down on the pedal is bad because that switch will actuate a solenoid in your steering column that allow that shifter to move. And so why it happens cold versus the rest of the time, I don't know. But sometimes electronics do that. So I would be highly suspect of a bad brake switch.
Yeah, and that's not happening because we're building brake pressure by pumping the brakes. You're just taking 5 more stabs at the switch. On, off, on, off, on, off. It just happens to work. And the way you make that work is by pumping the brake.
But I would imagine it has absolutely zero to do with the transmission.
I would agree.
Thanks so much for the call, Mitch. We are going to go with Nicholas in Glendale. He's got a 2004 Chevy S10 Blazer. How can we help you, Nick?
Yeah, I've got a problem with the air conditioner that's been acting up for a while. The clutch will engage and then disengage and then re-engage. And now today it's just completely disengaged and won't re-engage. Is it possible to just change the clutch, or is it better to replace the entire unit?
Well, I think the best thing to do is find out if the clutch is even bad in the first place. Just because the clutch is engaging or disengaging rapidly is not an indicator that the clutch is bad. I mean, you could have a bad clutch, but that clutch is only doing what it's told to do. It takes a power and it takes ground to make that clutch come on. And on that car, you're going to have a low side cycling switch that will not even allow power to flow to that clutch to engage if there's not a proper charge level in the system. Or not even a proper charge level, just a charge. And then that switch is designed when the pressures get low, hence the temperature also goes low. That switch is designed to cut the voltage supply to the clutch. So you very well could have a low charge condition where it comes on real quick. Because it comes on, the pressures drop, the switch cuts it off, and it's just playing with itself, back and forth, on, off, on, off. It's kind of like having a photocell light switch and having the light point at it, or a dusk to dawn light. It turns on, the light lights up, it thinks it's daytime, so it shuts the light off. It sees it's dark again. It's going back and forth. So you need to have it diagnosed.
I don't know where you come up with these analogies, but it makes total sense to me.
I had it happen to me. I was like, why is my new light that I put up always going on and off all night long? Well, dummy me, it was shining on the photocell.
It didn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. Thanks for the call, Nick. We got open lines at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. What you just described was a relatively simple system. Joel and I last week were talking about diagnostic, and those would be the first places we would go to. We'd probably go look at that relay for the clutch. But then we've also got a control head that plays into the mix. So sometimes they're easily diagnosed. We're low on Freon, so that's why it's cycling. Or we got a bad pressure switch. That's why it's cycling. Well, there's also other things that come into play also. So some of these answers we give seem simple, but sometimes they're not simple, and it may take a little longer than an hour to figure it out.
Yeah, and that's just the first step. I mean, on that system, besides making sure that the thing is properly charged, then you need a map. And a map is a wiring diagram. That's it.
To figure it out.
Yeah, you need to know where to start, where to go, where you're headed, what's going on.
We are going to go with David in Phoenix. He's got a 2010 Chevrolet Impala. How can we help you today, David?
How you doing, guys?
Good.
This is my question. I have this Impala. When I bought it about 5 months ago, when it first came out of the dealer, had the front rotors were warped. Took it back 2 days after. They took care of their rotors. Now 5 months later, now it's my back rotors. I took it in. Now it's my rear rotors that are warped. It's not my first vehicle. I know better not to be riding the brakes, or I don't do any hard stopping or anything. the guy is telling me that it's the driver. It's the driver. Nothing's wrong with the system. It's the driver.
Right. So real quick though, what's happening? Are you getting a pulsation in the pedal? Are you getting a shake in the steering wheel when you apply the brakes? Or what is it that you're taking it for? What's your symptom?
It's shaking. It's on high speed, trying to slow down, and it shakes.
Okay.
It only does it over 60 or 65, 70.
Okay, well, it does sound like a warped rotor. We would traditionally think a warped brake rotor, but Dave and I went and toured Centric Brakes. It's a name that a lot of industry people use. It's not a big popular name out to the consumer because their brake products are primarily sold to repair shops like mine and Dave's that do brake repair work. So a couple things that we learned there that can happen. You can have, yes, of course, we automatically think you have a warped rotor. But if you're using the wrong combination of brake pad, like say maybe a high carbon rotor in a metallic pad or a very abrasive pad, you can actually get pad transfer from the pad. That material will go bond to the rotor, so you have a high and a low spot, so you have it grabbing. So it may not be warped rotors. It could just be a poor combination of
pad and rotor
of the materials that they used. And since you asked about brakes, we'll just quickly touch on something that's happening in the month of October with a lot of bumper-to-bumper shops and other shops throughout the United States and Phoenix, and it's called Brakes for Breasts. October is Cancer Awareness Month or Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And what's happening, you can find these shops at bumpertobumperradio.com. You can also go to brakesforbreast.org. And this started with one repair shop 3 years ago in Ohio. And now it's grown nationwide. And believe it or not, Arizona is leading the pack with in this promotion or in this fundraising project called Brakes for Breast. And what will happen if you come to one of our shops, we will repair your brakes and you get your brake pads for absolutely free. And then we donate a portion of the rest of the service to the Cleveland Clinic, who's doing breast cancer research for a vaccine. And they're very close to having actual human trials coming up, and it's a good cause. So if you need brake work, find one of the shops at bumpertobumperradio.com, or you can go to brakesforbreast.org and find good shops that are doing this, and you'll get something good out of it, and we'll be able to help in that breast cancer research as well.
When we come back, we've got Rick and Lou, and maybe time for one more. You're listening to Matt and Dave, your KTAR car guys on the Bumper to Bumper Radio Show.
Do you love your hybrid? Yep, we did too. Hi, my name is Brian. We bought our Prius to help with my wife's long commute back and forth to work. We love the get up and go and the fuel economy. But 8 years later, our MPG was eroding and the zip was gone. We tried everything from tune-ups to new tires. The dealership's answer was that's just the way it goes with hybrids, and that we were probably looking at a new battery at the cost of $4,000 to $6,000. Sound familiar? We were lost. Then we found the hybrid shop at Goodworks Auto Repair. They were able to condition our battery to like new for a fraction of the cost. The Zip and the 40-plus MPG is back. We're in love again with our Prius and the hybrid shop at Goodworks Auto Repair.
Thanks for the kind words, Brian. Hi, Glenn Hayward for the Hybrid Shop at Goodworks Auto Repair. Fall in love again with your hybrid. For details, go to goodworksautorepair.com.
Is your love of golf driving a wedge between you and the missus? The Arizona Biltmore Golf Club has just the solution. Introducing the Couples Golf League this summer. Bring your better half for a night on the links with other couples. For just $30 per couple, you and yours will enjoy 9 holes and a beverage every Wednesday at 4 o'clock. Play all summer and qualify to be named the season's champion couple and take home the grand prize. What's not to love? Visit azbiltmoregc.com for more information.
Hi, this is Greg LaFonsi of Automotive Diagnostic Specialties. Long name, right? But we have a short, simple goal. Customer satisfaction is our number one priority, and everything else takes care of itself. Bumper to Bumper Radio approved. ADS is a family-owned and operated state-of-the-art repair facility that has an expert staff that for the second straight year has earned the coveted AAA Top Shop Award as one of the best shops in the nation. Just east of I-10 on Chandler Boulevard. Find us at automotivediagnosticspecialties.com.
Few cities are as car-centric as Phoenix, and this is the show that'll help you to better understand that machine you depend on to get around the valley. It's Bumper to Bumper Radio. KTAR News on 92.3 FM and the KTAR app for Android and iPhone.
Well, welcome back. I'm Dave. He's Matt, and we are helping you with anything in relation to your car. Car-centric.
I know. That was a pretty lively another sounder there. Way to go, Bree.
Yeah, this is one of the largest areas for auto repair because it's just there's so many cars here. I mean, you got 5 million people in this town if you look at the whole big thing.
That whole big thing. This whole big old fandangled town here, Dave. It's a big one.
Hey, we did have a caller because we had a question about tires earlier and the age of tires. And the caller said, we took him off air, that there was some standard where insurance companies weren't covering tire damage if the tire was over 6 years old. And I hadn't heard that, but I appreciate the phone call, and I'm going to go verify that. Because I would like to know that there's some standard out there, some standard operating procedure for when you can sell a tire, when a tire is no good. I don't know that I would be really happy if I was the insured and they said, oh, sorry, we're not going to cover your rollover because your tires were over 6 years old. I would be a little ticked off about that because that could be, maybe your brake pads were too thin, so we're not going to cover it.
Well, they can say whatever they want, but what reality is. But I have a feeling that 6-year coverage thing on the tire is something they read on the internet.
Could be. Internet is always right. I put stuff up there all the time.
Right. Is it the French model? Huh? What was that commercial? Oui, huh?
Well, up first this segment, we're going to go with Kyle. He's got a Dodge Dakota. What can we help you with, Kyle?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking the call. My problem is the front passenger upper control arm is constantly coming loose, and I'm constantly having to get alignments done. I've had the entire front end replaced, lower control arm, upper control arm, ball joints, wheel hubs, spring, shocks, everything. And no shop I've taken to can figure out what's going on.
Upper control arm is coming, the nut is coming loose, or?
Yeah, and it's causing it to come out of alignment. I mean, it can happen, 3-4 days after I get the alignment done, or it could happen pulling out of the parking lot.
Okay, so hang on a second. When you say the bolts are coming loose, you're talking about the bolts that where you loosen to make the adjustment to accomplish the alignment you want, right?
I believe so.
Okay.
I've never actually done it myself. I take it to the shop.
And do you know if that has shims, or do you know if it's just where they loosen the bolts and then slide the control arm where they want it for the to get the alignment angle?
The shop I work at, they said there's no shims. They were the ones that installed it, and they said it didn't. It doesn't have any. So
well, it could have eccentric cams, like Dave said, or it could just be where the control arm slides on a surface and then gets tightened down and locked in place. There's something missing. Something's going on. There's a lock washer, possibly. If it's a bolt, there could be. If it's a bolt, there's a lock washer missing, possibly. If it's a nut, maybe those are supposed to have a castle nut, or Dave, what are they called when the nut's just kind of crunched a little bit?
Nylocks, or some of them are like mechanically locking where the back of the nut is actually crimped, so it's not able to loosen up on you. There's something wrong there, but I don't think that's something that can't be fixed.
Yeah, someone's missing something. Someone needs to take a close look at whatever's happening on the side that's not coming loose and do a visual and see what's missing. Are the bolts, maybe it's not even that something's missing. It's just the wrong bolt, the wrong nut. You could use some Loctite, but that's just a band. That's an add-on. Yeah, we can make it work by doing this. Something needs to be figured out there for sure, because that could be dangerous.
You know, when my guys put cars back together and they're missing a bolt, first of all, I'm like, what'd you do with the original bolt? But walking over to a bucket of bolts and picking some bolt that's not the one the factory put on, I'll give you the example. Remember the hollow motor mount bolts on the old 4.3 GMs? That was a safety feature. So if a guy's changing out and he decides to put a solid bolt in there, well, you're missing something now.
Well, yeah, you just eliminated a safety feature.
But that's the difference between somebody working on a car that loves their craft and knows what they're doing versus a parts changer.
You ever take a guy that's got a huge job? You know what I'm talking about? I mean, we have these magnetic trays, and then you lay everything out. There's one on the left side up by the window cowl, and that's got nuts and bolts and washers. Then you might take all the timing cover bolts and put those in order somewhere else. I mean, there's literally hundreds of pieces here, and they're almost done. I go over and I go to that bucket of bolts and get 2 of them and put them there.
I've never done that.
Oh, that's torture.
You're sick, man.
I know, huh? You get a tech that's just got this huge job, and now he's scratching his head going, where did this bolt go?
Because I work in a transmission shop, there's a whole lot of bolts and little springs and valves and doohickeys inside the transmission. I'm going to start just to throw oddballs in their pile of bolts and just
see what happens.
I have no idea where this thing came from. Oh, yeah, it's a Canooter valve.
Yeah,
you don't know about the Canooter valve?
Or that really tough, oil pan gasket. You go do an oil pan on some cars. They're a nightmare to do. The huge job. You go seal all up, and then the tech. We probably do this once. Not very often. In 20 years, I've maybe done it 2 or 3 times. They get this huge job, and then the tech drives it, comes back, and maybe he goes and has lunch, or is washing his hand. And you go over there and put some fresh oil on the ground. Torture.
Yeah, Matt is a little sadistic sometimes. We're going to go with Rick in Gold Canyon. He's got a 2010 Genesis, 95,000 miles, 6-speed, 3.8 liter. Man, that's all the details.
Got it, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
Got a quick question for you. I take it to the dealer, and of course they want you to think they're the only ones that can service the car. I realize that at 100,000, I'm facing transmission fluid change, and they're quoting over $700. They're quoting a fluid that's like $107 a quart. And in looking online, I've understood that Shell makes one that's like $10 or $12 a quart. And the other thing I think is the case is this 6-speed transmission is either Porsche or some high-end transmission that supposedly requires that. And my question is there a replacement fluid, and can a good transmission shop do this job, not just Hyundai?
Dave will take part of it, and that's that high-end Hyundai. And
the specifics of that vehicle I am not familiar with. But what kind of fluid is that? Is that like Crisco Plus? I mean, what is that thing that it's $110 a quart?
Well, not $110 a quart. I think it was $110 for the fluid because he said it's $700 to service it. Now, I can think of a $700 transmission service right off the top of my head. You take a Jaguar with the ZF transmission, a 5 or 7 series BMW that's got the ZF transmission. Now, I don't know if the Hyundai has got the ZF. I don't think so in that model. It could. And when you buy the transmission filter to service, it's actually the whole entire pan, filter, gasket.
Yeah, there is some expensive services.
And it's 2 or 3 hours of access to pulling all the panels, and then the fluid is expensive. So there are some. Dave, what do you think on the fluids?
Hey, Rick, I don't think you have to go to the dealer with it, but send me an email. Go to bumpertobumperradio.com. I'll look up the specifics, and we can see if that's, $700 for a transmission service on a manual. There's something I don't know about, so I don't want to give an answer and be wrong with it, but I'll look into the details and then get you a good answer, and we'll figure out how to get your transmission serviced.
Well, how much does a transmission service cost, Dave? I mean, let's just, because this is water cooler talk. Could you imagine Rick going in, he's talking, you $700, you just got ripped. I mean, how could you're bent over the barrel, and but maybe it is a $700 transmission service, though.
At first blush, that's why I try not to give people just an answer, because I don't know all the details. I'll look into that, research it, and figure out what your answer is. But yeah, at first blush, that would sound like a lot of money for a manual transmission, because most of them are like $59.
Manual. It's an automatic transmission.
You said it's a 6-speed, so I was thinking manual in my mind.
Yeah, it's the 6-speed automatic.
Well, thanks for joining us. If you're looking for a friendly, honest, and competent shop, you can find them at bumpertobumperradio.com. Thanks, Bree, for mixing it up for us. You're listening to Matt and Dave. We'll see you next week.
The lazy days of summer are coming to an end, and the crazy days of back to school, daycare, and kids' sports are upon us. Hi, I'm Matt Allen, owner of Virginia Auto Service. Don't let servicing your car add to the chaos of your busy schedule. Live or work in Central Phoenix? Virginia Auto Service is right next door at 7th Street in Virginia. We'll pick you up and drop you off at your home or office, and for over 19 years, we've been Central Phoenix's trusted solution for auto repair and maintenance. Check us out at virginiaautoservice.com.
Hi, Dave Riccio, owner of Tri-City Transmission and co-host of your Bumper to Bumper radio show. Did you know that 1 out of every 4 transmissions is replaced in air? Transmissions are the most complicated part of your vehicle and misunderstood by so many. At Tri-City Transmission, we diagnose over 200 transmissions every month. We know transmissions. Don't be a victim of transmission malpractice. Protect yourself with knowledge. Download our free tip sheet, Top 10 Reasons Transmissions Are Replaced in Air,